So, for our project for our foundation degree second year, in conjunction with the Harbour Commission, we'll be looking at the biodiversity and invasive species that live on two mooring blocks, one in the commercial harbour, close to AMP Pendennis, and one in the recreational harbour.
Okay, I'll be working alongside Will, and I'll be looking at the invasive species side to it, and I'll be comparing differences between populations of invasive species nearer the commercial harbour and to the leisure side of the harbour.
Like I say, I'll be doing the biodiversity. I'll be comparing to see if there's a significant difference in the biodiversity on the mooring that is close to the commercial harbour compared to that is close to or in the recreational harbour. For this, we're going to be using two mooring blocks which have been allocated already by the Harbour Commission, kindly. And then we'll be either snorkeling down to them or winching them up to photograph and just analyse the data. We'll be doing this every 2 weeks throughout the summer and winter months to view the growth and change in the biodiversity.
We'll be using equipment such as the scuba, which we've already got access to, which is an underwater camera that we can just drop down on the chain, which should be quick, easy and cheap since the Harbour Commission already own it, so it should be easy.
As benefits to you, biodiversity is a key importance to Falmouth, especially as you have the oyster beds, which is kind of the lifeblood of this community. You also have the mussel farm further up Carrick Roads, but also tourism, which is very important more recently, with many people coming to snorkel, spearfish, scuba dive and fish in the area, but also coming to view the dolphin, seals and basking shark populations that live around the estuary. And not only this, it's just kind of our duty, or it's our problem to look after and make sure that we maintain the environment for further generations, really.
Our invasive species are very important to study. Here I've got some examples of some invasive species. And some of the negative effects that can be caused from these invasive species. Invasive species, they're very hard to kind of get an idea of how many you have colonising a habitat until they've established quite a large community. So hopefully by doing this research we can maybe discover some invasive species that are new or haven't been found early on, so that later on you can save some money, hopefully, by early action. It's probably the best thing.
We've been speaking to a number of companies and organisations already about work that they've been doing. One of these companies, AkzoNobel International Paints, that works on the Yelm estuary, which is an estuary of similar dynamics to that of Fal, have been taking water samples of different water conditions throughout the estuary over the past 2 years, and we have all that information already. So it gives us a comparative to what's happening here on the Fal. Another one is PML, Plymouth Marine Laboratories. We've been in contact with a man up there, and he's passed our research on what we are hoping to do on to people that are currently doing a similar sort of thing at the Marine Biological Association.
We've also contacted a company called Erxis, who are already doing existing research in invasive species within the Fal estuary. So they should be hopefully providing us some existing data of invasive species, and then we can hopefully develop what we find around them.
With your plan, obviously you've got the two anchor chains, which is only 2 samples, which is a little bit limited in terms of statistics. Have you thought about looking at the blocks that are brought up each year?
Yes, we've already contacted Leon. Yes. And he says to us that I think he's estimated to put them up in September time, something like that. And he said we're more than welcome to go and have a look at the pre-existing blocks that have been down for a year already.
This is only if it is kind of within the health and safety. We will have to sort this all out at a later date and check that it's all okay. Really.
I've got similar concerns, because actually the influences, particularly talking about biodiversity, if you look at the way that the sort of sediments in the estuary vary and the historic uses, you are going to find that maybe that in certain locations there are going to be very sort of specific local effects, so it probably won't necessarily show up in the methods you're proposing. But, I mean, if you are working with Leon, and we know that every September we're going to bring in X number of blocks,
Yeah.
you could probably get a map, I mean, you know exactly where those blocks have been taken from, and so it might be an easier way, a more statistical relevant way to actually use those as your subject when they come ashore, if you can set that up.
If you ask him and Joe to clean them for you, pressure wash them, so they would go back in, because they come out for a couple of weeks normally on the hard, and then you put them back in again, and it's they know exactly where they belong to the centimetre.
We've already spoken to them, and we've been allocated these two, which will just be completely clean blocks going in, like fresh and without any
But
on them at the minute.
the problem, the point I suppose is really for the next year's class.
Yes.
It's a project that would be good to keep going.
Ongoing, yeah.
So
absolutely.
flag it up to whoever's doing it, that
Yeah.
if you get down and talk to the guys at the harbour, there are going to be 200 or 300 blocks that will come out,
Absolutely.
and you know, you can sample
Well,
far and wide.
we do 10% a year.
10%,
Yeah.
60, sorry.
And actually, we're not particularly concerned where they come from, so we could actually do a scattering around the harbour geographically every
Yeah.
year, so you would have an ongoing survey of a particular effect.
Yeah.
If we can give you an idea of the kind of densities that we're finding these species in. This fouling, I'm guessing, costs quite a lot of money to get rid of some of these invasive species, especially if they build up in large densities in your pontoons and mooring blocks. This is the kind of data that we're going to try and give you. So yeah, we can also, alongside, look at the ones that have been pulled out.
Yeah, I
Or he's
think a
gonna-
combination of both would
Yes.
be very good.
Are you liaising with Will and Ellie? 'Cause they're
We
the same as you, but they're doing it on the land.
This, yeah.
Ish.
Theirs is a system that was designed by the Marine Biological Association with the plastic panels.
Yeah.
But how theirs differs from ours? They are keeping it. It will be kept at kind of a set distance.
No, I understand that.
Cover. Yeah.
Apart from that,
We will. We have been.
you're going to
talking,
want boats and cameras and everything else. I
Absolutely.
mean,
Yeah.
you know,
We're working.
there's a big overlap there, but you're doing it in different parts of the.
But we try to keep the equipment simple and cheap, the less it costs, the more benefit to you guys too. So.
A lot of equipment between the two of us. We already own sort of onboard cameras, snorkeling gear if we can snorkel on the designated areas, and also Falmouth Marine School has a lot of the equipment that we can already use. So between that, the costing is very limited, just down to almost just the fuel to get out there, really.
So you start when and runs till when?
We're planning on starting.
The blocks go down.
Leon is planning on putting the blocks down sort of.
Oh, so
in the
he's got two
the
samples, right?
Yeah, the next 2 weeks, and then throughout the summer, hopefully, we'll be taking every 2 weeks. We'll set a set time between the time intervals, and do it between then and up until January, February time.
Is it not worth widening your catch? I mean, you're down there anyway. You've gone out, you've spent the fuel, you've
Yeah.
got your tanks. Decide to take, you know, some more samples because at least you've got a snapshot of it now, and you'll have another snapshot later on.
We'll
So.
have to talk with Doug and people about the logistics of it, but yeah.
Well, if they've got their own boat anyways, obviously you get it.
Falmouth Marine School has a boat, and
It's got
between us, we have qualifications that can go out on this. So yeah, it's just that we've been given these 2 moorings, so it'd be brilliant if we could have more to kind of analyse, but at the moment it's just the 2. So
We can, but there's no reason why we can't.
Do all the blocks,
Yeah, there's no reason at all.
Do any of you ever talk to the dive clubs? Because they've got lots of divers and we've got boats and the rest of it, and they almost roam around aimlessly. I'm sure well, some of them do.
Swim round aimlessly.
Some of them do. If you spoke to them as then we want to do this, and surely they'd liaise with you and say, come on, we'll take you out.
well, the only problem with that is in order to dive on this, you have to be an advanced diver with over 50 dives, I think, logged
We've set that as a
Oh, you
health
have
and
it.
safety criteria, and unfortunately between the two of us we don't have that many quite yet.
Well, only about
So,
10 metres deep.
Yeah.
But you can still go for nothing.
Cool.
Yeah, this is it. Snorkeling.
I suppose I have to move you on because the next one's due in.
Well, thank you very much.
thanks very much.
My project is comparing the biodiversity on 2 mooring blocks, one in the commercial harbour and one in the recreational harbour. I feel the bid went alright, it could have gone a lot better. We were thrown off a bit by the questions. We didn't really expect them to ask what they did. But I think it's possible that we could be getting more mooring blocks, which would be a great help to us, as it will give our stats more of a backing.
Yeah, they wanted us to look at
A wider range.
instead of looking at two kind of mooring blocks that they're putting in, they want us to look at like all of the mooring blocks that are in there, which
They're bringing out.
it gives them better data to understand why they're doing it. But so yeah, we
But-
basically just got to rethink our strategy a bit.
In all